Welcome back to the Living Philosophy podcast. I am your host, Vince Lopes. In our last episode, we explored the idea of ecological kinship, the profound realization that we are not masters of the earth, but members of its living community. We talk about shifting our gaze from hierarchy to relationship. But let us be honest, it is hard to feel the king when the house is on fire. When you look at the accelerating rate of species extinction, the instability of our climate, the persistent sting of poverty, and the deep social suffering that seems to ripple through our cities, it is easy to look away. It is easy to fall into a kind of numb despair, or worse, a hollow optimism that ignores the gravity of our situation. Today, we move from the feeling of kinship to the practice of Earth Realism. Earth Realism is not a set of abstract theories. It is a new way of seeing that dares to look directly at our crisis without losing sight of the Earth's incredible self-organizing power to heal. To be an Earth Realist means two things simultaneously. First, it means acknowledging the full weight of our predicament. We do not sugarcoat the damage. We recognize that the systems we have built are often at odds with the living systems that sustain us. We feel the grief of what is being lost because that grief is a sign that we are still awake. But secondly, Earth Realism recognizes that the Earth is not a dying machine. It is a living, interdependent community of existence, a vast creative intelligence that we are a part of, not apart from it. Realism, in this sense, is not about acknowledging the bad news. It is about acknowledging the reality of the Earth's resilience and our role as conscious participants in its recovery. It is a pathway that starts with our feet firmly planted in the soil of today's reality, but with our eyes fixed on a visionary future, a future where human culture, ethics, and science finally align with the rhythms of a living planet. In this episode, we are going to look at what it means to live from this ground. How do we stay grounded when the world feels shaky? And how does Earth Realism offer us a practical way forward? Let us begin. To practice Earth Realism, we must first have the courage to stand in the predicament. We often treat climate change or species extinction as environmental problems, as if they are external glitches in an otherwise functioning machine. But Earth Realism suggests these are not just technical errors, they are the logical conclusion of a way of life that has forgotten its origin. When we look at the widening gap between wealth and poverty, or the mental health crisis unfold in our cities, we are seeing the human cost of that same separation. We have created a world that is efficient at extraction, but poor at nourishment. This is the realism part of the name. It is the refusal to look away from the suffering of our human and more than human. It is the recognition that we cannot build a healthy human future on a dying planetary foundation. But if we stop at the predicament, we fall into paralysis. The Earth path of Earth Realism reminds us of the fundamental truth. The Earth is not a passive backdrop for human history. It is a living, self-organizing, and interdependent community of existence. It was here long before our stories began, and it possesses a profound, creative intelligence that we are only beginning to understand. When a forest recovers after fire, or a river begins to clear once the toxins stops, we are witnessing the Earth's inherent drive towards wholeness. This is not hope in the sense of a wish. It is a biological and planetary reality. The visionary pathway of Earth Realism starts here. It asks what happens when we stop trying to fix the Earth as if it were a broken toy and start aligning with it as a living partner. In the old story, we were the managers, the ones who decided which species lived and which died, which landscapes were productive and which ones were waste. Earth Realism offers a different role: participation. A visionary pathway does not mean going back to the pre-industrial past. It means moving forward into a highly conscious future. It means moving from extraction to circulation, learning from how a forest manages waste, moving from human rights to community responsibilities that include the soil, the water, and the atmosphere, moving from being consumers of a planet to being inhabitants of a place. The pathway forward is not a narrow escape from disaster. It is an invitation into a deeper, more vibrant way of being human. It is the realization that by healing our relationship with Earth, we heal the very fracture in our own souls. If we accept that we are participants in a living community, our sense of purpose undergoes a radical transformation. In the old story, the goal of a successful life was often defined by how much we could accumulate or how much control we could exert over our environment. But in the light of Earth Realism, success is redefined. It becomes a question of alignment. We begin to ask, does my work, my lifestyle, and my presence contribute to the vitality of the whole, or does it diminish it? This shift does not require us to be perfect. Earth Realism is about direction, not purity. It is about moving toward a life that is pro-planet in every sense of the word. How does this look in the real world? We can look at it through three practical pillars. First, the practice of attention. Earth Realism starts with noticing. Most of us live in human-only bubbles. Our senses, our climate-controlled rooms, our social media feeds. The first practical step is to break that bubble. It is about learning the names of the trees in our neighborhood, watching the birds, and feeling the shift of the seasons. When we pay attention, the earth stops being a concept and starts being a neighbor. Second, the practice of restraint. In a world that tells us more is always better, restraint is a revolutionary act. This is not about deprivation, it is about right sizing. It is the conscious choice to take only what we need so that the rest of the community, the animals, the forest, and future generations can all thrive. It is the realization that true wealth is found in the health of the system, not just the balance of our accounts. Finally, the practice of contribution. We often ask, what can the earth do for me? Earth Realism flips the question. What does this specific piece of earth need from me? Whether it is restoring a local creek, advocating for ethical policies in our workplace, or simply tending to a garden that feeds the local pollinators, we move from being takers to being regenerators. When we live this way, our becoming becomes unshakable. Why? Because our sense of self is no longer tied to the volatile difficulties of a human-made economy or a fragile ego. Instead, our identity is anchored in the enduring reality of the earth itself. We realize that we do not have to save the world all by ourselves. We only must play our part in a world that is already trying to heal itself. There is a deep, quiet joy in this, a sense of belonging that no crisis can take away. It is the transition from being a stranger on a dying planet to being a conscious, vital cell in a living body. As we conclude today, I want to leave you with a thought on what this all means for how we treat one another and the world. In the story of human exceptionalism, ethics was often a matter of rules, what we were allowed to do. But in Earth Realism, ethics becomes a matter of resonance. It is the realization that there is no such a thing as a private action. Every choice we make ripples through the shared body of the living community. This is the ethical expression of our philosophy, to live with the awareness that our well-being is entirely dependent on the well-being of the whole. When we protect a watershed, we protect our own community. When we seek justice for the marginalized, we are mending a tear in the fabric of our own community. This is not a burden of guilt, it is a source of power. It means that every small act of care, every moment of restraint, every seed planted, every word of truth is aligned with the primary movement of the earth itself. So, as you move back into your day, I invite you to carry this question with you. In this moment, am I acting as a stranger to the earth or as a conscious participant in its life? Earth Realism does not promise us an easy path, but it does promise us a real one. It offers a ground that will not give away because it is the ground that sustains all things. In the next episode, we will explore how Earth Realism did not arise in isolation. From phenomenology to depth psychology, from ecological science to indigenous and contemplative traditions, many streams converge in this realization. We will begin tracing these roots, not as a history of ideas, but as the unfolding of a deeper way of seeing and being. Until then, walk gently and listen deeply.